And here we are once again in the next video. So good job, my dear friends. Welcome back. We examined the relationship of all the variables with a survived variable in previous lessons, and I will now want to examine the relationships of all the variables with each other. So yeah, I'm going to ask ChatGPT for a little bit of help. Now, I actually didn't delete the previous studies, and we currently have the data set in ChatGPT memory and the shape that we want, so we can work with it now. Let's just jump right in. So yeah, I'm here in the message section once again and write something like, now I want to examine the correlation of all the variables in the data set. Can you write the required code? All right, so I think that's clear enough. Let's send it and check it out. Here come the answers. Let's wait a little bit longer. All right, so why don't we just move ahead and analyze this? Something caught my attention right out of the gate. See, ChatGPT printed the codes. However, it did not analyze the graph that's going to be released. So I think I'm going to want to do a different study. So I'll ask a question here again and ask ChatGPT to analyze the above codes. And then after the whole process is finished, we can evaluate that. So in this context, I'll just go back to the message section and write, can you analyze the graph according to the output of the above codes? All right, so we'll send that in, and here comes some more answers. All right, so now that's done. Now I'm going to the first message that we wrote, and I'm going to begin to work on it. Okay, so look at this. ChatGPT said we would first request using a heat map and write the necessary codes. Then it created a correlation matrix variable and got the correlations of the whole data set using the core function. Then it graphed this information using a heat map. Yeah, so if we examine the graph, it first determines the frame of the graph, my friends. Then it called the heat map function from the Seaborn library and entered the data into it. Then it set the annote parameter to true so that the correlation coefficients were written on the image. Okay. And for the coloring on the image, it set the CMAP parameter as cool-warm. Okay. It also set two more parameters. It typed .2f in the boxes on the image to display the 2 decimal digits of the correlation coefficients. Yeah. And it set the square parameter to true to set the image as a square. Last part, it determines the title name, and it wrote plt.show. So that's the code to run the graphic. Yes? Yes. Now check it out below. It's talking about the heat map in general, and it helped us with what we should ignore in our analysis. And anybody who wants to just pause the video and read what's written here, go ahead. But what I want to do is transfer these codes from here over to my notebook. So I'll just grab that relevant code from the left side and come over here to the cell on the right and copy and paste. Okay? So let's run those codes. And as you can see, all the correlations between the variables have now arrived. And yeah, we can go ahead and analyze this. However, I would like to pass on that information in ChatGPT. So I'm going to copy all this text below the codes and then paste it into my notebook by opening up a cell in Markdown format over here on the right. Okay, so let's run that code. See, we are filling the notebook with some very helpful information, my friends. Now, I'm sure you remember we had ChatGPT analyze the information in this graph. Okay, so let's examine all that now. I'm going to go down here and check it out, my friends. It brings us the analysis of some variables in the ChatGPT dataset. So let's have a look at the first note. See this? Survival correlation. And let's see what it says about it. Survived shows a moderate positive correlation with fare. This suggests that passengers who paid higher fares had a slightly higher chance of survival. Survived also shows a weak negative correlation with P-class, passenger class. This indicates that passengers in higher classes, lower class numbers, were more likely to survive. So see, my friends, it actually made very accurate determinations. So sure enough, these analyses actually help us determine what kind of results and conclusions we can draw from the heat map graphic when we encounter it. Okay, so we're going to move on here and check this out. There is the analysis of the correlation of the fair variable. And we'll just peek and see what ChatGPT has to say about it. Fair shows a strong positive correlation with P class. This indicates that higher class passengers paid higher fares, which is expected. There's a weak positive correlation between fare and age. This suggests that older passengers tend to pay slightly higher fares. Now, how accurate are the findings? Am I really asking that? Yeah, really good. So let's just move on to the final analysis now, the analysis of the correlation of the age variable. And let's see what ChatGPT has to say. There's a weak positive correlation between age and P class. This indicates that older passengers tended to be in higher classes. Now, actually, it exposes a bit of a goof that I made here. I wonder if you caught it. Yeah, I made a small mistake. See, the correlation between age P class is usually negative, not positive. So I just want to fix this when I grab all this information for our notebook. Okay, so ChatGPT continues with age also shows a weak negative correlation with SIB-SP, number of siblings, spouses aboard. This suggests that younger passengers tend to have more siblings or spouses on board. All right, so we'll take those notes about this and we'll continue. And it finally makes a general assessment and says, these are just a few examples of the relationships you can observe from the correlation matrix heat map. It's important to note that correlation does not imply causation, and further analysis is often needed to understand the underlying factors influencing these correlations. Remember, the correlation matrix provides valuable information about the linear relationships between variables. However, it does not capture nonlinear or complex relationships, and exploring and analyzing the data from multiple angles is always recommended to gain a comprehensive understanding. Yeah, so within the scope of these warnings, we can actually examine all the other variables and reveal all the relationships within the data set. So, my friends, what I want to do now is transfer all this information from here to our notebook. So I'm going to take all that relevant text from the left-hand side and copy it. Open up a markdown format cell over here on the right and paste it all in. Now, you heard me say earlier, I need to make a few small corrections here. So first of all, I just want to add item titles to make that output look better. I'm going to leave some spaces in the headers here as well. Now, if you remember, actually, when examining the correlation of the age variable, we were going to change this section. See, the direction of the correlation was wrong, right? Yes, no, yes, of course. Now, I want to change this part to negative. All right, so now that's done. We can run the code. Check it out, my friends. We've accomplished that goal. And we've also come to the end of this particular video. So we're going to continue with more next time. I'll see you then.